And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I am J.C. Kenney, and love is in the air this afternoon. And not just because I love the fact that it's Baby Friday, it's because we have our resident love guru, Nan Reinhardt, with us today, talking about a
Okay.
new series. So, Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, how? Okay, so I must say that when I first picked up Forever Cowboy, your new Montana based romance series, Nan, which
Whoop, whoop.
beautiful, stunning cover. Oh my gosh, the cover is so beautiful. I was like, how are we going to handle not being in River's Edge? However, in the opening pages, we get to see that there's still that little connection to River's Edge in these books, which I absolutely love. So we'll be able to kind of parse out the familiar versus the new in our conversation today, which is really exciting. But before we do that, I do want to ask. You've been a guest of ours many, many times. And for any of our viewers who are new to our platform or may have missed the episodes that you've joined us on, do you mind just giving us a little bit of your background and what brought you into the world of romance writing?
Well, I am a hopeless romantic. Have been. I wrote my first romance novel when I was 10 years old about my sister and one of the guys in Herman's Hermits. It was quite quite dramatic. Anyway, and I just think I was born for that. I love romance. I've been reading romance novels since I was old enough to read, and so it just seemed like a natural transition to be writing them. I'm also a freelance copy editor and proofreader. And although I started with the For Dummies books when I began my freelance career, about 10 years ago, I transitioned to fiction and mostly romantic fiction as it happens. And well, and mysteries, I guess, too. Right, JC?
Yeah, I know two people who write mysteries that you edit for, but we'll
Yes,
talk
I
about that
do.
another day.
Um, so I work with my publisher as an editor, and I work with several other publishers as well as some indie authors. So that's my day job, but I am first and foremost a romance writer. I love being a romance writer. It's just, you can just take yourself into that little world of fiction and live in it, and it's wonderful.
Well, you are wonderful, Nan. We love having you on
Yes.
the show, and we're so
Mhm.
excited to be able to talk about this new chapter in your writing career, which I can imagine was a little daunting for you at first when you were given this challenge. So I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind, before we actually start talking about Forever Cowboy, if you tell us how the project came to be, because I think it's a little bit different than folks might think.
It is. My publisher, Jane Porter, who is just the most amazing person on earth, came to me after I published the last River's Edge book, which was, I can't remember, one of the last of the Walker series. And I Need to Love You. That's what it was. Anyway, she asked me, would I be interested in writing the different setting? Um, she said, I don't want you to give up on River's Edge, but I think, would you be interested in trying cowboy romance? At first, I thought, oh, please. I don't think so. But it wasn't that I didn't think I wanted to do it. It was more that I wasn't sure that I could because I've read a lot of cowboy romance because I've read a lot of the Marietta books that Thule produces, and a lot of my favorite authors are writing cowboy romance. But I just wasn't sure that I could make that happen. But I thought, okay, 72 years old, it's time for a new challenge, by golly. Oh, I said, okay. And I, I pitched some ideas to her, and I thought that a good way for me to do this would be to transition from River's Edge to Montana by bringing someone from River's Edge to Montana. And they bought that, they were all in. And so we brought Beth to Montana, and then they invited me to be a part of this Montana's Rodeo Cowboys series, which is there were four of us, three other Thule authors. All the books were fabulous. They all came out in September, one each week, and mine was the last one. And a sort of little fun thing about it, I'd never written with other people before. We didn't really have to be connected particularly, except
Hmm.
that there had to be something in the book, in all four books, that connected them. And so what the others and I decided we would have connect him as a dog, a stray dog, who's a thief. And
Oh.
so the little dog Rascal that you read about got created in the first book, Jeannie Watts' book, Unforgettable Cowboy, I think it was called. And then next book was Nicole Blockton's book, and she brought the dog along. And then Jane brought the dog along in her Road Cowboy. And then they told me I get to decide what to do with the cowboy, or with the cowboy, with the dog. Okay. And I knew they wouldn't let me kill it. So, and
Oh
not
my
that I would ever
God.
do that. I'm just joking. Um, so I decided that Rascal was going to come and live on Dell and Beth's ranch. And so he became a ranch dog and he stopped being a thief. So anyway, he got, what the word is, reformed, I guess. Um, and all the dog really wanted was a home.
Mhm.
And so that ended up in my book. I got to choose where he got to be. So that was a lot of fun. And so this is not only the fourth book in the Montana Rodeo Cowboys series, but it's also the first book in my Juniper Falls Ranch series. Um, and
Okay.
there'll be three more. I just finished the second one, and I'm going to start the third one on retreat. So anyway, that's how it all happened. And one thing that I did do, I've done so much research for these books, rodeo research, ranch research. I mean, I've never been on a ranch before. I had horses for a very long time in my life, about 15 years. But so I knew horses. So I knew I could do that part, but I didn't have any idea how to do any of the rest of it. And I'd never been really west of the Mississippi outside of flying over to get to California to visit our kids. So I called Carol Light, my Thule author buddy, and said, "Want to go to Montana?" And she's like, "When do we leave?" And so she and I met in Denver in July, and then we flew to Bozeman and we rented a condo and we stayed in Big Sky, which isn't really cowboy country as much as it is winter sports country. But
Mhm.
in the summer, not winter sports, so there were lots of things to do. And we just saw so much of Montana. We went to Yellowstone, and I mean, it was an amazing trip. We did both end up with COVID at the end of the trip, was not amazing, but the rest of it was fabulous. So we had a great time, and I really got to see and feel the setting and know what it was. I saw all the gorgeous and beautiful ranches, and it was a super trip. I was so glad I did it. So now I have like, in my reality, I know now where I'm writing about, and that helped a lot. So, okay, that's my story.
That's amazing. And the fact that you got to experience your setting in kind of such a up close and personal way. I'm curious because when we've chatted about River's Edge in the past, you've modeled that off of a town in your home state. Was there
Yes.
m- um, Moretta, is that like a mirrored off of any place in Montana that folks can visit, or is it just kind of a amalgamation of different places?
Well, I think that originally Marietta was just a place that they thought of, and it's kind of based a little bit on Livingston, I think, Livingston, Montana.
Okay.
And Livingston is real in the book, and Bozeman is real in the books, in all
Mm-hmm.
the Marietta books. But Marietta is totally fictional. But I was lucky to come into Marietta when it had already been created. So I didn't have to create that town. I could just bring my characters into it, which was different but fun. I really did have a good time learning the town and getting to know all the places that all these other authors had created. And one kind of interesting, fun thing, my editor and I, Sinclair and I, were talking about, writing in a new setting that wasn't mine. And I said, somebody ought to open a French restaurant in Marietta. And she just kind of smiled. She goes, "Somebody should." And I was like, okay, that could be a story at some point. So anyway, I'll be staying in Marietta, but mostly focused on Juniper Falls Ranch, which is the ranch that Dell and Beth in Forever Cowboy end up um, living on. And so the three more stories that I've got will happen there or around there. And then, but everybody goes into Marietta. In all the books, they'll all go into Marietta and do things, visit the Graf Hotel or go to Sage's chocolate shop or whatever. So I have maps of Marietta that I get to, you know, take my people to. So it was different. And I will say also, it's been very strange not having not being able to depend on my secondary characters, people like
Mhm.
Mac and Noah and all the people from River's Edge. They're not in this. There's nobody in the second book like that. And so I've got to build those people now. And so right now, a couple of the cowhands from Forever Cowboy have come to help Dell on his ranch. So we've got those two secondary characters. Gus, the old grizzled cowhand, is in the second book. He'll be in the third and the fourth because he's helping Dell. And Dell's trying to build up this business, this cutting horse raising and training business. And so, people are coming, new people are coming in. So it's kind of crazy not to have what I didn't realize, I guess, how much I depended on my secondary characters. But it's okay. We're building a new community, so it'll be all right. We'll get new people. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, and speaking of new people, I'd like to talk about new big characters for you, Beth and Dell. You've kind of mentioned them, but just who the heck are these folks and why do they matter?
Well, Beth came from River's Edge. She was coming out of a really bad divorce after 20 years of marriage, and she was back home in River's Edge, and her friend said to her, "You need a vacation." So she booked what she thought was going to be a long spa weekend in
Oh
Montana.
gosh.
And it ended up that the spa and the Dude Ranch had the same name. And she ended up on the Dude Ranch, which was not what she was expecting. And it was, of course, the big weekend of the 87th Copper Mountain Rodeo. And so there was no place else for her to go. She could either go home or stick it out. And so she decided to stick it out. And Dell, who is, he's younger than her. She's 43 and he's 36. But he's getting to the point where he's thinking maybe it's time to stop riding rodeo because he's afraid he's going to get hurt, which was a reasonable fear because his best friend is hurt in this book, gets hurt. And so that's part of the story of why he's leaving the rodeo. So this was going to be his last rodeo. And he just kind of takes her under his wing at the Dude Ranch. I think he feels sorry for her at first, but he's attracted to her, and she is to him, because cowboy. So anyway, they just had this immediate attraction, and she kind of fell in love with him and fell in love with Montana at the same time. So
That
happy to
her
do that.
Beth's story of making the reservation at the wrong place was so it, I just like felt so bad for her because she's had like one kind of thing thrown at her after another, but there's a moment where she's able to laugh about it,
Yeah,
and that's when I realized as the reader that okay, like this lady's going to be okay. She's going to be fine. She knows how to pull herself up by her bootstraps and keep moving forward. So she has these lovely references to the places in River's Edge that we're familiar with and her family's orchard. But yeah, I just loved her getting involved in the Dude Ranch life because it's a lot of work. I don't know, like there are
it
some
is.
folks that went to it as for their honeymoon. Like one of
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple characters that they were there for their anniversary. They were celebrating their honeymoon, and I feel like Beth and I were thinking along the same lines of like I would never put myself through that for like a romantic weekend. But gosh, it just sounds like so much fun. And speaking of fun, I do want to make sure that we say hello to our wonderful viewers who are joining us here this afternoon. We have got DHB saying good afternoon, Farmhouse Reader saying hi
Hi.
all, the Fashionable Bookworm saying good afternoon everyone, and Liz Flaherty saying hello. So thanks folks for being here with us live. And because we're already 15 minutes in, I want to talk about our fantastic giveaway that we have because when
Indeed.
Nan visits, she brings the goodies galore for folks.
Making it rain.
We're going to do what we've been doing this season is having everyone email us the magic word that will be Nan's choosing to enter into the giveaway. We're going to close it at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So you have about 24 hours to get your entries in. So this is for folks who are watching us after the fact that you can be in on the fun. Nan, would you like to share what is part of your giveaway bundle and what word you would like them to put in the subject line to send my way?
Well, today we're going to give away some Montana swag. While we were out in Montana, Carol and I shopped, and we found some fun little things to include as prizes. And there's a bracelet. So my friend Mo and I made forever bracelets, which is the infinity symbol on a leather strap. It's really pretty. So that's part of it. I think there's a $5 Starbucks gift card and a signed copy of Forever Cowboy, and a little Forever Cowboy notebook and a pen, and just some other little tchotchke things. So just a little box of fun.
That's more than a little box of fun. We
Yeah.
also have Farmhouse Reader saying Nan has the best giveaways. So, folks, in order to
Thank you,
enter
Farmhouse.
into our giveaway today, I'm going to have you email giveaways at itsbookishtime.com. You should see the email flashing across your screen right now. Nan, what should they put in the subject? What's magic word would you like them to put in the subject line for today?
I think our magic word is going to be stallion.
Say that again one more time for me. Your mic cut out just a
Stallion.
little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry, stallion.
Stallion. All right, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. All right,
like
folks.
male horse that's not been fixed yet.
Excellent. All right,
Okay.
folks. Make sure send us an email with to at giveaways at itsbookishtime.com. In the subject line, you can just put the word stallion and that's it. You don't have to write me a letter. You don't have to say anything. Just send me that email and we'll get you entered into the fabulous giveaway. And so while people are doing that, talking a little bit about the Dude Ranch experience, Nan. One thing that I was so impressed by was the new language that you had to get used to writing, because there are so many, my favorite was buckle bunnies, which
Well, isn't that a funny term? I love
it
that.
is. I was like, there were
That's
so
cute.
many cool phrases to learn. And while you were talking about how you were kind of, you didn't create Marionetta, you just had to, you were kind of dropped in there. So how did you get your
Yeah.
bearings in this book? Did you how did you figure out how to write in this new setting?
Well, I was very lucky that my editor writes in Marietta pretty
Mm-hmm.
frequently. And Julie, Jim will testify, Julie is so amazing about helping. If you need help, they are right there. Sure, what do you need? And they'll just, anything you need, they'll do. And so there's a book that got published, I don't know, maybe 8 or so years ago, called The Gal's Guide to Montana or something like. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it's got all the Marietta stuff in it, all the
Mm-hmm.
stores, it's got maps. It's just
Oh,
an amazing
wow.
little book that a bunch of the Marietta authors put together for themselves, really, but then they just ended up publishing it for readers. So that was a huge help. Um, my editor, I'll tell you one little funny story. When she read my first draft of Forever Cowboy, she sent me back a note and said, just FYI, cowboys never refer to animals as critters. I was like, you're kidding, because we called our horses critters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or nags. That was the other thing. Get that nag out of here. So no critters or nags in the West, apparently. Must be a Midwest thing. Who knows? But anyway, so I had to take out all the references to critters, nags, and put in horses, which was interesting. But taking the people down into the town, I had the maps, I knew where everything was. And so it was really easy to put them in that setting. I did have to find out who owns this and who owns that, and where is the fairgrounds association, in reference to the town, because of what happens at the fairgrounds rodeo. And so there was a lot of logistics, I guess I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
that I had to work with. But we figured it out. And so the second book, I will say I did more research that wasn't Marietta oriented, because he's training cutting horses. And the guy is the hero in the second book is a horse whisperer, as well as a
Ooh.
horse trainer, and as well as a rider in the rodeo. And so I had to read a lot and look up a lot of stuff. But we'll see. My editor already sent me back a note and said, "Wow, you really did your research." And I was like, "You really?" So people are going to think I know rodeos and know the West. They're going to be real.
So,
I'm not just a little girl from the big city in Indiana.
there we go. Yeah. You're right. Hey, you're living the dream here, Nan. And one of the things I want to ask you, kind of big picture. And at the risk of getting overly dramatic here. We're living in interesting times, shall we say. And we need things in people to believe in, things to hold on to. And that's one of the things that romance does. Um, Talk to me
Absolutely.
a little bit about how important romance is in our world, especially in times like now.
Oh, I think you're right on about that. I feel like people need a place to escape. And that's what I do. I hand them an escape. And I do that for me as well, because when I'm writing it, it's an escape. Um, I just think that, happily ever after happens no matter what's going on in the world. And we all need to remember that. It does, and that things will be okay. And, it might not be the same world that we lived in before. And, who knows what's going to happen as things go on in this world. But I think the one thing that we can all count on is loving and being loved, and reading about that, being in that world in fiction when you need to be there. So I think that's really important. We need romance, which is probably why romance is the number one. Believe it or not, right now, the number one selling romance genre is cowboys. Just amazes me. I mean, I love cowboys. I think it's great fun, but I was shocked to read that. That's the number one selling romance genre.
Well,
And
it
since that's what I've been
also,
doing.
I think it also speaks, and especially this is it becomes so apparent in just the opening chapters where, Beth is this stranger in a strange land,
Yep.
and Dell, instead of shunning her or thinking like, oh, like, she's from outside, like, I'll just drop her off and like let her fend for herself, he welcomes her with open arms. Everyone at the ranch welcomes her with open arms. And all of the different people who are there as guests from all their different walks of life, they're all gathered around the campfire. They're in the dining hall. And it was just a beautiful sense of community from people who necessarily haven't been there their whole lives, and that they're
Mhm.
they're they're from away. And just the tone which you set, I thought that that was really moving. Even if there wasn't like the
Thank you.
physical attraction between Dell and Beth, there was just like a human, like, this poor woman looks like she's lost and I'm going
Yes.
to help her. So I think that that message is also very, very beautiful and moving. And I
Thank
really
you.
love how you just framed everyone's story in this vast open space where I can imagine people can feel small at times and maybe insignificant, but they look around and they're with this community that is one that they've built together. And I
Mhm.
think that that's another like beautiful thing that we can take with us from this.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I will testify you feel small in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a big place. Everything in that state is big, and you do feel very small. And, they talk about big sky, and it's just amazing. It's just the most amazing thing to see a completely different world than what you're used to. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's really not that far away. We're all here in the same country, but it's so different. And it really gave me a feel for what my characters were going to be feeling. So that part was going out there was such the right thing to do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and there is in this book, I will warn people now, there's a B story that is sad. Um, but life can be sad sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, I think everybody comes away from that situation that happened with Bell's friend as, you know, feeling like it's going to be okay. But I wasn't sure about writing that because, the focus was supposed to be the rodeo. Sorry. Focus was supposed to be the rodeo and the rodeo riders. And my writer wasn't, he was thinking about leaving the rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I think, a little bit different. But um, worked. So, and I had to be true to myself. And the other thing that's interesting about Dell is that he's not from Montana. He's from Boston.
Yes. Yeah. He's a
And he
transplant as
followed
well.
his dream. He followed his dream. And maybe his being a transplant was part of what made him be as empathetic to Beth as he was. He was a different kind of cowboy.
He's a great cowboy. I really he was somebody that was very easy to root for and to just fall in love with very quickly as a reader. So he's a very memorable character. And as always,
So,
our time together flies by so quickly.
already over.
But I want to give folks just another reminder that we do have a giveaway opportunity today. We've got a big bundle of, we've got a signed book, we've got a gift card, we've got a forever bracelet, we've got some notebooks and merch from Montana. So if you'd like to enter, make sure once again to email giveaways@itsbookishtime.com. In the subject line, put the word stallion and you'll be entered into the giveaway, and we'll announce our winner at the top of next week's episode. So while we are wrapping up, Nan, where can folks stay connected with you? You have I know that your weekly Substack comes out, your Sunday snippets, which I love to read.
Oh, thank you.
How do people stay in touch with you?
You can find me at nanreinhardt.com. And I'm Nan Reinhardt everywhere, on Facebook, not on Twitter. I am on Blue Sky and Instagram and the Thule website, Nan Reinhardt. So I'm really easy to find. It's almost embarrassing. It's just face cake to find me. And I do have my Substack, which I'm having so much fun with. And people are reading it. I'm just like, wow, because people don't go to my website a lot to read the Sunday snippet. But so many people have Substack to read it. And I'm like, wow, that's really awesome. And a lot of them are not romance readers. They're just people who go to Substack.
Mm-hmm.
They see my topic and are like, oh, okay, let's read that. So, and I know JC's on Substack too. I read yours every weekend, and it's just a fun place to be. I kind of feel like you're big boys, don't you?
Well, it's a nice, especially among the writing community. It's a great way to. I think what I like about it is it's we have more time on Substack because we're
Yes.
not limited to 48 characters or whatever, and so you can tell a little bit of a story or share a little bit more. And so yeah, I enjoy it, and people are still paying attention to my writing tips, and whether or not they're any good or not, I don't
Right.
know. But Nan, so you got book 2 coming up. Do you have an idea of, can you tell us when we should start looking for it?
It's going to be on Booksprout probably in December, maybe.
Oh
Okay.
Yeah,
wow,
probably around the first
that's
or
coming
middle of
up.
December. But it releases on January 30th, and then I'm not sure when the next one. Maybe in June the next one, and then I think October or November. So everything in the first series, the first Juniper Falls series, will be out by the end of 2026.
Wow.
How's
I
that?
get it already. Um,
How are
that's
you still doing like your editing? You're being a phenomenal editor
Oh yeah.
for us out in the world, and yet you're just like churning out
I
these
loved your
amazing
book, by the
books.
way. It was so
Thank
much
you,
fun to work on.
thank you.
Really
Well,
appreciate being able
I
to do
loved
that.
your edits. They were
Good.
fabulous. So I can definitely vouch that Nan is a fabulous editor now. I can join the ranks with JC here.
Indeed.
Nan, because this is our new season of a bookish moment, we have kind of switched things around, and we are bringing a feature from the Bookish Hour in for folks, where we ask you to share, what are you reading, listening to, watching, what's entertaining you these days. Any recommendations for us to check out?
Well, I would definitely recommend on Saturday mornings. I think it shows up about 9 o'clock on YouTube. It's the Coffee Klatch with Robert Reich and Heather Lofthouse. Just
Ooh.
talking about the news of the day. Robert Reich always has a fascinating perspective as a
Mm-hmm.
former labor secretary and someone who's been involved in politics. And He was a professor. He just retired from being a professor at UC Berkeley. He's just a fascinating guy, and Heather Lofthouse works well with him. They have
Mm-hmm.
a really good about 30 to 45 minutes of conversation that's pretty fascinating and also very hopeful, which is nice. I always end up at the end thinking, okay, we're going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've been reading Thule Christmas books like crazy because they're all coming out right now, and so it's a treat to do that. Jim and I are watching Slow Horses on Apple TV. I don't know if
Yes.
we are just fascinated. It's MI5 British spy stuff, and it's just Gary Oldman makes that show. He is amazing in his role. So we have a good time with that. And we also got hooked. I'm crazy, but we got hooked on narrow boating shows. So
Oh.
in England, that's a thing to go out on canals. There's like thousands of miles of canals in England or in Great Britain, and people rent narrow boats or they buy narrow boats. They're just like a 6 foot wide by 50 some odd feet long boat, and they go up and down these canals. And we got hooked on it when we started watching Timothy West and his wife Prunella Scales, who was in the show that John
Oh, she
Cleese
was in
did.
Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers. She played the wife in Faulty Towers, right? Well, she and her husband Timothy West, who's also a theater actor, a character actor, and started narrow boating when they were first married, and they celebrated their 50th or 60th anniversary, which by making a show called Great Canal Journeys. We just found that on Prime one started watching it, got completely hooked, and now we're on like our third or fourth narrow boating shows, and we're having a ball.
Oh,
It's
that's so
it's
funny.
just relaxing and fun, and you think, oh, I would love to do that. And we actually have one of our Thule authors just did that. Amy Andrews went from
Oh.
Australia to
Mm-hmm.
England and did narrow boating, and it just looks like so much fun. So that's the kind of thing we do. We're the most
That's
interesting
awesome.
couple of all.
Jim, any recommendations since we last chatted? Anything new to
Yeah, I
add?
just want to I just want to shout out the narrow boating shows also. Nancy and I have watched a couple of them, and it's when you want something that just kind of makes you feel calm and happy. It's beautiful scenery. Their storytelling is amazing, and also Timothy West and Prunella Scales. They're also the mom and dad of Samuel West, who we
Right.
all know and love from All Creatures Great and Small.
Oh.
He's Siegfried, and then he
Yeah,
also has a small supporting role in Slow Horses. So it's fun that way too.
Oh, I had
I
no
haven't seen
idea.
Slow Horses, have I?
Yeah, he's oh god, he's the smarmy politician in the first couple of seasons.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yes,
pretty
yes,
good at that.
yes. That's right.
Yeah,
He is. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
He's
So
a wonderful
but
actor.
oh yeah, absolutely. So, but what I want to shout out, just we watched the season debuts of both Matlock and Elspeth earlier this week, and they were both delightful. Elspeth is as colorful and outrageous and as adorable as ever, and Kathy Bates is just an absolute genius. And so Matlock, it was a great season opener. So that's what I've got. How about you, Sarah?
I have a recommendation. Well, it's if you're in the mood for some scary but like true crime show, we've been watching this one called Dead Silent. Well, I've been watching it kind of like this
Oh, I
because they
see.
do these like reenactments of crimes and they have it structured so that it feels like you're in a horror movie. So, like, the actors they have are like very creepy and the music is very ominous and it's just different from any true crime show that I've watched before. And it's also like it's just really intense. Like it does scare me a lot.
Oh,
But it to Nan's with Nan's suggestion, it kind of reminded me with the coffee couch or the coffee couch.
Coffee Clutch.
Okay,
Coffee Clutch.
coffee couch. I recommend if you're looking for like also like interesting news media delivery, Under the Desk News, and they are on Instagram. They're on Substack. I think they're on TikTok. is a really good like short recaps of things that are going on in the world. They do an update every night, which is very informative. And then also Tara Palmieri, she does one on Substack that's called The Red Letter, and her reporting is very, very interesting. And I've learned a great deal from her conversations that she has with a lot of like Washington people. Because looking for independent news media these days has been kind of my saving grace. So those are a couple
Yes.
recommendations that I have. But this has been a fabulous conversation, Nan. As always, you bring such
Thank you.
joy and warmth to both your readers and to us here at A Bookish Moment. Very much looking forward to what happens in Juniper Fall at the Juniper Falls Ranch for the
Thank you.
new folks that'll be showing up in books 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully, you'll stop by and share what's going on when they're out in the world. But folks
We'd love
who
to.
joined us here, we would like to thank you for being here live with us as always. And then our folks that are watching us after the fact, we greatly appreciate your support. Make sure that you send in your giveaway entry by using the word stallion in the subject line. And we have a new show next week at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be joined by Marilyn Levinson, who also writes as Allison Brooke, talking about her brand new series. After she concluded the Haunted Library Mysteries, we are moving to Dickens Island, where she is writing her books on the beach mysteries. So that'll be fun to see what another new series from a very acclaimed author. So again, thanks for being here, everybody. Until next time, stay bookish. Have a good one.